Pretty sure we're live. Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Chacon, Bravo 6 reporting, and I hope you're all having a solid week so far. Today on Inside the Ranks, we're heading deep into one of the most defining conflicts in American history, Civil War. Today's episode is episode 6, Life as a Soldier During the Civil War. So without further ado, let's go ahead, introduce you, run over 5 slides, present day connection, conclusion, credits. This is going to be an informational and more of a serious topic we've gone over today, so let's dive into it. Introduction. The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, was one of the most deadly and defining conflicts in U.S. history. But most people today only learn about the battles, not the everyday experiences of the soldiers who fought in them. Life as a soldier was filled with long stretches of boredom, harsh living conditions, emotional struggles, and moments of intense violence. Soldiers from both the Union and Confederacy often wrote letters or kept journals describing their routines, fears, and hopes, giving modern historians a window into their world. Today's episode of Inside the Ranks, we will explore the daily reality of Civil War soldiers, including what they ate, how they lived, how disease affected them, and how they cope with the emotional toll of war. By examining their personal experiences, we can better understand the human side of the conflict and draw connections to military life today. Let's go ahead and start with our first slide, daily life in camp. Most of a Civil War soldier's life was spent in camp, not on the battlefield. Camps were often overcrowded, muddy, and uncomfortable, with soldiers living in tents or makeshift cabins depending on the season. Daily routines included drilling for hours, cleaning weapons, standing guard, and practicing formations. Soldiers also spent long periods waiting for orders, which led to boredom. To pass the time, they played cards, wrote letters, read newspapers, whittled wood, and sometimes gambled, despite officers trying to ban it. The lack of entertainment made even small activities like receiving mail a major event. But camp life wasn't just dull, it was physically demanding and emotionally draining. Many soldiers struggled with homesickness and the uncertainty of when or if they would see their loved ones again. Poor weather conditions, especially in winter, made daily survival harder. Muddy grounds, freezing temperatures, and constant rain could make tents miserable to live in. Despite these challenges, soldiers formed strong friendships within their units, which created a sense of brotherhood and helped them endure long stretches of hardship. In this photo, we have Union soldiers outside Nashville, winter 1864. We have 2 more photos. All these slides will contain 2 photos after the previous photo that introduces, what we're speaking about, so I will also go over those. Homer Winslow, Civil War, Life in Camp, Library of Congress. This image, a lithograph by an artist, shows various views of camp life. Tents, men relaxing or doing chores. It reflects how most of the soldiers at the time was actually spent in camp, not on the battlefield. Union soldiers resting in camp, U.S. National Archives. This image shows resting soldiers reading letters, playing cards, revealing how they tried to pass time, stay connected at home, and deal with boredom. Slide 2. Food and supplies. Food for Civil War soldiers was simple, repetitive, and often low quality. A typical Union soldier's ration included hardtack, a rock-hard cracker, salted pork or beef, beans, coffee, and sometimes sugar. Confederate soldiers had even fewer supplies, especially later in the war. Shortages meant they often ate cornmeal mush, foraged crops, or whatever they could find near battlefields. Soldiers joked that hardtack lasted longer than the war, and sometimes they had to soak it or mash it to make it edible. Supplies were equally inconsistent. Many Confederate soldiers lacked proper shoes, blankets, or uniforms, especially as blockades made it difficult to ship goods. Union soldiers generally had better equipment, but both sides dealt with worn-out clothing, leaky tents, and limited medical supplies. The quality of what they received depended on their unit's location and the Army's transportation ability. Poor logistics often meant long periods without fresh food or essential gear, adding stress to an already harsh life. Union soldiers eating rations in camp, Library of Congress. Civil War Camp Kitchen, Army Heritage and Education Center. This image shows a camp kitchen, or cooking area, shows how meals were prepared collectively over makeshift stoves or fire. Supplies were inconsistent and sanitation was poor, which affected health. Canteen used by Union soldier, National Geographic Society. This image shows a soldier with a canteen, reminds us how water was a critical resource. Clean water was often scarce, which contributed to disease outbreaks. Third slide, health and disease. Disease was the #1 killer in Civil War, far more deadly than bullets or artillery. Camps were crowded, dirty, and poorly sanitized. Soldiers disposed of waste too close to drinking water, which spread illness like dysentery, cholera, and typhoid fever. Medical knowledge was limited, and germ theory was not widely accepted yet, so doctors didn't fully understand how infections spread. Simple wounds could become fatal, and even common colds could develop into pneumonia. Hospitals were often overwhelmed and short on trained surgeons. Anesthesia did exist, but antibiotics did not, so infections from amputations were common. Many soldiers also suffered from malnutrition, lice infestations, and chronic diarrhea. The lack of proper medical care meant that soldiers sometimes feared disease more than the battlefield. Letters home describe camps where dozens of men died every week, turning ordinary illness into a constant threat. Camp Gonfalon Interior, Alexandria, VA, American Battlefield Trust. Civil War Field Hospital, Fredericksburg, American Battlefield Trust. This image shows patients inside a makeshift hospital tent, a sign that disease and injury were constant threats, not just combat wounds. Doctors and nurses worked under difficult conditions. This image shows convalescent soldiers, men recovering from illness or wounds. It highlights how long recovery could be and how many spent more time sick than fighting. Convalescent soldiers in camp, American Battlefield Trust. Slide number 4, I believe? 3. Regardless, combat experience. The actual combat was terrifying, chaotic, and extremely violent. Battles often involved smoke smoke-filled fields, loud gunfire, exploding artillery, and the screams of wounded soldiers. Weapons such as the mini-ball caused devastating injuries, often shattering bone and requiring amputation. Soldiers fought in tight formations that made them easy targets, contributing to high death rates. Many report that once a battle began, visibility dropped and communication became nearly impossible, creating confusion and fear. Psychologically, combat left lasting trauma. Soldiers described shaking hands, heart-pounding fear, and emotional numbness after battles. Sleep was difficult, and many suffered with what we now recognize as PTSD. Though it wasn't understood at the time, survivors often watched their friends die beside them or had to advance over fields covered with body. The intensity of combat created a harsh contrast to camp life, changing soldiers forever. Sharpshooters near Yorktown. Wikimedia Commons. Infantry on the March. Civil War illustration. Wikimedia Commons. This image shows the drawing of a marching infantry column and how soldiers had to march long distances, often under harsh conditions, before even reaching battle, reflecting the physical hardship of war. Incidents of the war. Camp scene. U.S. National Archives. This image shows battlefield aftermath, tents, markers, or graves, highlighting the cost of combat and the harsh reality of death in war. Letters and morales. Letters were the emotional lifeline for Civil War soldiers. Mail connected them to home, and receiving a letter could instantly boost morale. Soldiers wrote about their daily routines, fears, and hopes, often hiding the worst details to avoid worrying their families. Writing helped them cope with stress, and letters were often shared aloud with friends. The U.S. Postal Service even created special systems to get mail to Union soldiers more efficiently, though Confederates struggled with blockades and shortages. Morale depended heavily on communication and leadership. Victories, good weather, and strong officers lifted spirits, while long campaigns, hunger, and sickness brought morale down. Soldiers sometimes deserted if hope ran too low, especially in the Confederacy where supplies were scarce. Despite hardships, many soldiers stayed motivated by duty, loyalty to their regiment, or belief in their cause. The emotional toll of separation from home shaped much of their wartime experience. Union soldiers reading mail in Petersburg trenches, learning history. Civil War Soldier's Diary, page Rutherford B. Hayes, Presidential Library. This image shows a diary/letter reproduction, and it reminds us that many soldiers kept journals or letters, which became valuable historical records and comfort for the writers. Scene of camp life with letter writing, Library of Congress. This image shows a sketch of camp life with letter writing and the routine side of maintaining morale even in war. Simple acts like writing or reading offer mental relief and connection. Present-day connection. Modern soldiers experience different conditions, but many emotional challenges remain the same. Today's military members still face long deployments away from home, unpredictable dangers, and the psychological stress of combat. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, many veterans struggle with PTSD, depression, or anxiety after returning home. These emotional burdens mirror the letters and accounts left by Civil War soldiers who also experience trauma, fear, and homesickness. Advances in technology and medicine have improved physical conditions. Modern training, protective gear, vaccinations, and medical treatment have dramatically reduced disease and battlefield death rates. However, the connection between past and present lies in the human experience, the relationships, sacrifices, and emotional struggles soldiers still face. Understanding Civil War soldiers helps us appreciate how military life has changed yet stayed similar in many ways. Our key point summary. 1. Civil War soldiers spent most of their time in camp, not in battle. 2. Food and supplies were limited, especially for the Confederacy. 3. Disease caused more death than combat due to poor sanitation and limited medical knowledge. 4. Combat was intense, deadly, and emotionally traumatic. 5. Letters played a certain role in maintaining morale and emotional stability. Conclusion. Life as a Civil War soldier was harsh, unpredictable, and physically and emotionally exhausting. Their experience has given us a deeper understanding of the human side of warfare beyond dates and battles. By examining their daily routines, hardships, and coping mechanisms, we can better understand how the Civil War shaped the lives of ordinary Americans. These stories also help us reflect on the challenges faced by soldiers today, showing that while the tools and technology have advanced, the emotional realities of service remain deeply human. Our credits go to McPherson James M. for Cause and Comrades, Why Men Fought in the Civil War, Oxford University Press, 1997. Rabel, George C. Civil Wars, Women in the Crisis of Southern Nationalism, University of Illinois Press, 1989. United States Department of Veterans Affairs, Mental Health Issues in Veterans, VA.gov 2024. Robertson James I, Soldiers Blue and Gray, University of South Carolina Press, 1988. Thank you for listening. This has been another episode of Inside the Ranks, Episode 6, Life as a Soldier During the Civil War, and I'm signing off. Have a great day.